Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Definitely. We're looking specifically at two sources you shared, excerpts from Defining Artificial Intelligence and excerpts from Demystifying Artificial Intelligence.
Okay.
And what immediately jumped out at us from both, actually, is how they keep circling back to this fundamental question: what is AI?
Right. That question.
Exactly. So our mission today isn't really to, give a definition. It's more about understanding why defining it seems so central in these particular materials. Why that focus?
That's a great way to put it, because it's not just like page one, here's the definition, let's move on.
No.
These sources really highlight that asking what is AI isn't just step one. It suggests it's an ongoing, maybe even a core part of the whole field's identity.
An ongoing inquiry.
Yeah. And that has implications, right? If the very foundation, the basic concept is kind of fluid, well, that shapes how we build the stuff, how society thinks about it, its limits, its potential, everything.
Okay, so the sources aren't just giving definitions. They're almost highlighting the question mark itself,
Precisely.
which makes you wonder, why is that question so persistent? I mean, especially in a field that seems to be moving at, well, light speed.
That's a really central point. One huge factor is just how dynamic AI is. I mean, think about how we understood computers 50 years ago versus now.
Right. Huge difference. Mainframes to phones.
Exactly. AI has a similar challenge, but it's way more accelerated. You get new things like deep learning popping up, or AI suddenly impacting totally new areas like art or medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And the lines defining what counts as intelligence or even artificial, they just keep shifting. So any definition you write down today, it's probably going to feel a bit dated, maybe even next year.
So there's the speed, the constant change, but there's also something deeper, isn't there? A conceptual challenge. It's not just about what AI can do, but what we think it is.
Absolutely. You've hit on it. This gets into some, well, almost philosophical territory.
But what is intelligence anyway?
Exactly. Is it just about solving problems really well? Or does it need something more, like consciousness or self-awareness? We don't even fully agree on that for humans, let alone machines.
And when an AI makes a painting or writes something, is that creativity or just pattern matching?
Right. Those kinds of questions. Applying this concept of intelligence to something not biological, it forces us to look again at our own definitions, And these sources, they seem to want us to sit with that complexity rather than just handing us a neat little box to put AI into.
But is this just, an academic debate? Does this constant struggle to define AI have real impacts? Couldn't someone argue maybe that it shows the field isn't quite mature yet? All this reevaluating?
That's a fair perspective to consider.
Yeah.
But I think what these sources are implicitly suggesting is that for a field like this, changing so fast, being too rigid, having one fixed definition, that would actually be a bigger problem, a weakness.
Okay, so the fluidity is actually a strength,
Right.
or at least necessary.
You could see it that way.
Yeah.
Because think about the practical side. How do you make policy? How do you regulate something if you can't quite pin down what it is this year versus next year?
Good point.
It affects investment too, ethical guidelines, even just how people, the public, understand what's happening.
Yeah.
If we don't have some kind of shared understanding, even if it's one that evolves, it's really hard to talk about it responsibly or govern it effectively. So maybe it's less about finding the definition and more about constantly grappling with the question itself to keep our aim true, so to speak.
So wrapping this up then, the key takeaway from our deep dive into these specific sources isn't just about AI itself. It's that the sources really put the spotlight on the process of defining it.
Yeah, the act of defining.
They're underlining that the question, what is AI? Well, it's not settled. It's actually a really significant active investigation that kind of underpins everything else.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to take away. Just consider what it means when a field this complex, this fast-moving, is constantly asking itself, what are we, really? It suggests that maybe the journey, the process of trying to understand what is AI is just as important, maybe even holds more insight right now, than landing on any single final answer. It's the invitation, really, to join that exploration.